How's everybody doing? Actually having so far a pretty good day. I will try to give you a good stream for at least a little bit if I can. Um, okay, the first thing I want to say is apparently, and I didn't know this yesterday, so if they didn't do it today, I apologize, but I found out about it today. I was exactly this many days old uh, when I found this out. NASA has released their UAW or UFO UAP thing, and I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it. Uh, I will say that Bill Nelson, he's the NASA director. He started it out, and I I thoroughly think he's a good guy. I don't want to come off like he's some bad guy, but it was painful to fucking watch. Well, you see, we decided to, I mean, it was pretty painful to listen to. And at one point, he was in there. Well, we're looking into space, and someday we're gonna find a medium-sized planet around a medium-sized sun, and it won't be too close. It won't be too far. He's trying to basically say, we'll find, the Goldilocks principle. We're gonna find a planet that isn't too much of this or too much of that. And then he was talking about carbon based. Well, um, no offense, I think he's a good guy, but I think they should find somebody a little more qualified to run NASA. Some scientists say that carbon can support life. That like we're carbon based life forms. Pretty much everything on this planet is. We're carbon based. Silicone has the same potential for life that we do. And maybe we'll find something else, something that isn't carbon or silicone, something that we don't understand. Maybe they'll find that. But it is possible we could find silicone-based life forms. And then like I think everybody that's on he assembled a panel of top scientists to look at it. I ordered them to look at it, and at one point he said that exploring is in our genes or our biology or something, or in our DNA. That's what it was. And I'm sort of thinking, oh my God, yes. And so far, the government has acted like it was the genes, the DNA of a Southern who impregnated his sister, and we need to improve that and make it smarter and move forward and answer some vital questions that people want to know. And I'm working on a road. I want a road to get me from here to the village. And I don't think that's too much to ask. I really don't. So there was that, and then News Nation. It was look for their channel on if you want to see it. Look for their channel on YouTube. You can watch it there. The thing is, they were putting up headlines, and according to them, the UFO study stated there's things going on right now that they can't explain. So again, maybe it's fair. I don't know. I really don't have any judgments on it yet. If I get a chance to read it, I gotta have a good day to do that. But if I get a good day where I can read it, I can maybe opine on it. But I'm just kind of going on the coverage of it, and so that was kind of cool. And okay, now the topic that I'm gonna. Oh, and the other thing I want to talk about is I was talking about Lou Elizondo, and I don't know if it was in the Diablo stream or on the Minecraft stream. The Minecraft stream I make a podcast of, so if for some reason it was the Diablo stream, you didn't miss that much. I don't try to talk about too much on there because I don't want to turn everything into a podcast. And on the off chance people are nice enough to watch it and ignore the fact that it horribly sucks. Somebody commented, he goes, "You're doing just fine." And I'm thinking, you know what? If I had the ability to nominate someone for sainthood for being a really, really nice person, I would nominate that person. These things are shit. I have no delusions. I have no delusions about them. I really don't. But anybody that's being nice like that, I do really appreciate it. The people that watch it, if you're finding some enjoyment on it, you know, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But that one clip that I was talking about, I finally got a chance to watch the whole thing. At least some of it, I think, may have been the first interview, but if I understood it, if I'm not making a mistake, I think he did admit that he has 3 interviews with Lou. I think he admitted that. So, you know, look for him. I highly recommend you look. If you find any of this stuff fascinating, you're going to want to watch it. But the thing that got me, because, like, I just skimmed it and threw it up for that guy on Threads. Oh, and I was wrong. I think I was wrong. I thought that that article that he shared was talking about the U.S. government being briefed on UFO bodies. It was the Mexicans. It was like a Mexican government thing. And so, you know, but I was wrong on that because I thought it was us. I'm like, but I did tell him the truth. I'm like, well, look, they had a classified briefing, you know, a year ago, and after that classified briefing, for the most part, they look shook when they come out of it. And at least that one senator made the comment that he thought the American people deserved the truth. So, you know, it is what it is. And but the thing he talked about on there is he basically said that, you know, there were gonna be, you know, if everybody knew what he knew, he thought that they were gonna have to have some serious reflection on changing, because he said there's gonna be some religious people. I think he said this. I might be getting it mixed up, but I think he said there were some religious people, and some scientists and some scholars that we're going to massively have to rethink it. And I remember watching something with Graham Hancock. I think it was Graham Hancock. It was either that or it was Ben Carson. And they were talking about the problem with archaeology. And this goes back to the 90s. There was a book that I heard about. It was one of those, I think it was Sightings on NBC. But there was a show called Sightings, and they looked at they looked at ghosts, they looked at UFOs, they looked at a lot of stuff. Well, one of the things they talked about on that show is there was a guy, and he said there was a book. Now, I have not been able to find it. It's out of print. I don't know if it was a bad book, because I was trying to get a copy of it. I don't know if it was a bad book or if the powers that be kind of shit on it so it went away. But what he said was every now and then, and this is still true to this day. It was true back then. It's true to this day. Back in the day, they would, if they found something that did not fit, the accepted narrative of if they found something that did not fit the narrative of mainstream archaeology, what they do is they'd sideline it. They just cordon it off, hide it, and not talk about it. And and like it's still going on to this day. And I am being completely honest. I'm not trying to be a smartass here. Um, Much of what you see in the UFO community, where there we go. But like you take Lou Elizondo, you take that David Grutch, you take pilots, civilian or otherwise, that come forward and they saw something. These people are marginalized and sidelined. They do the same thing to archaeologists. I don't know if it's the same group, like if it's some, I don't put a lot of weight in some of this, but I don't know if it's some clandestine government thing, kind of like if you ever saw that movie, the They Live, with Roddy Piper in it, where there's some secret world organization. If you put on these special sunglasses, you can actually see the aliens that are living among us. And I don't know if it's something like that. I don't necessarily believe in that, but it's part of the narrative. It's out there. The reptilian shadow government of, the one that got me is they were portraying it like Queen Mary was or Queen Elizabeth had been part of it, and they'll take videos and doctor them so it looks like she's got reptilian eyes. Apparently, the TV show V back in the 90s was a documentary, or the 80s, or whenever it came on, and then they redid it. Apparently, that was a historical documentary about the fucking lizard aliens, and they, it got shut down. It's no longer in print, and one of the things he mentioned on that show, Sightings, and he actually had it. He goes, "This here is a souvenir that I bought at the Smithsonian," and he goes, "It was a replica of something that they used to have on display," and he showed it. And he goes, and it was called a stylized bug. Well, what happened was it had been there for years, if not decades. And then somebody noticed that it looked a little bit like the space shuttle. Poof, gone off the shelf. They didn't call it a stylized bug. There are constant stories that the Vatican has hidden knowledge. They picked up stuff, and like to some extent there was that am I gonna die? Am I gonna die? Yeah, we'll just move along. And but they would do this. They would they'd put this stuff out there, and then as soon as it didn't meet, because like as long as it was a stylized bug, hey, it's good to go. And as soon as it became something real, then they had to make it vanish, just make it disappear. And it should come out on a river or something. Yeah, here we go. Okay, now I could go overland there. Might do both. I'm gonna dig through all the way. I gotta get over there, so it's 231, and I gotta go dig that. I'm gonna go back and unload first, and but they did that, and when you take a look at that's why I think this is kind of related to the UFO thing, because the thing I don't understand though, is it the same group? Is it the same structure that wants to block this, or is it just two separate groups? And but they just attack these guys. You take Graham Hancock. He did a series for Netflix, uh, something archaeology, apocryphal archaeology or something like that. If you do a search for Graham Hancock on Netflix, it should bring it up. And they were calling him a racist. The powers that be, they started this thing that, oh, he's a racist. And the reason they were calling him a racist is because he was saying the pyramids were built at a much earlier period. They weren't built like, 3 or 4 thousand years ago. It looks like now, because I heard him say this, and he's just trying to be honest. They don't know for sure when they were built. All they know is the pyramids existed like 10 or 12,000 years ago minimum. Now, they might have been built before that, but they know that they had to be around then because of the water erosion. And then, and he said, and for the longest time, mainstream archaeology would ignore that, because he said, well, it can't be, because if the pyramids wouldn't be the only megalithic structure built. And since we haven't found any, he was mentioning this, I think, on Joe Rogan, and he said, but since we haven't found any other megalithic sites, well, now they have. They found a shitload of them. More on the way. So it's pretty clear that there's something going on, and they just don't want to admit it. And so what happened was, he said that, because he said the pyramids were built so much earlier, he was a racist, because he was trying to say that the black people were not utilized as slaves to build it. And like Joe Rogan kind of rolled his eyes, he goes, look, it was still built in Africa. It was built in Egypt and Africa. It was in that region. Skin color is created by the environment. If you're there and it's real sunny year after year after year, generation after generation after generation, your body's going to develop that, pigmentation to protect you from the sun. So he said it doesn't make any sense if it was built with people, and it was still built, because they were built there. They didn't build them somewhere else and levitate them there. But and the thing is, it's just he's pointing out what they know to be evident now, and suddenly they're calling him a racist. Anything to dismember him. And that's what they did to some of those UFO people. They start making them look like they're crazy, or they bring up their PTSD. Or the funny thing is, and I found it funny, and I ended up reposting it or quoting it, and I told people, I go, you got to go here and read the responses. But he's the U.S. Senator from Florida, Tim Scott, and I don't know who did it. On some level, I don't know that it's necessarily fair to him, but here's the thing. It kind of goes with what I was saying on my Diablo stream about Lauren Boebert. When you're a member of that party, the Republicans, when you bash people the way they do, I don't know that it's necessarily fair on the grand scheme of things. I'm not a big fan of it happening, but things won't get better until Republicans have to start living in the world they created for other people. I firmly believe. Okay. And but he was basically being critiqued because he was single. He wasn't married. And I don't know if it was somebody on the left like me or if it was somebody on the right. Could have been either one. And he might be single. He might be gay. Maybe he's got a white girlfriend and doesn't want her targeted by the white supremacists that vote for Republicans. I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. But what happened was, in response to the criticism, he literally said that he has a real live Christian girlfriend. And when I saw that, I go, "Oh my God, he's starting to sound like Farmer Ted in 16 Candles." And you'd have to go ask your grandparents. Maybe they saw that. It's an old movie. I was either in junior high or high school when that thing came out. But this guy was getting picked on for not having a girlfriend, and he started telling people, he go, "Oh, I totally got a girlfriend." And then they wanted to know who she was. Oh, well, you don't know her. She's from Canada, and he's in high school, and he's telling everybody he's got a Canadian. And I go, he's starting to sound like Farmer Ted. Oh my God! And then somebody else had posted, it was Dr. Evil from Austin Power, and he's like, allegedly, and I'm like, you gotta go check out the responses to this one. And then when I checked on it later, because somebody had liked my comments, when I checked on it later, somebody had continued that Farmer Ted theme that I did, and he goes, "Yeah, she's a real girlfriend. You just don't know her because she lives in Canada." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" But that's that's what they do. They start attacking these people, and they don't really give a shit what it is. They don't even care if it's true. They just start anything to discredit them. Anything. Doesn't matter. And so, it is what it is. But so there's the updates on stuff I have talked about before that I'm aware of. Anyways, now let's get on to remote viewing. Remote viewing, I think it's possible. And all I can do is tell you what I've seen and what I've heard about the subject. I personally haven't been involved in anything officially. But I've heard it's not like I was part of a program. I don't know anybody who was part of a program. And but no, I've heard stuff. Some of it you hear, it sounds like it's crackpot shit. Other stuff you hear, if the people aren't lying, it sounds like maybe there's something to it. And the thing I would say is, I believe we know for a fact that the government spent like $20 billion on it. And I know in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of money, but to me, for them to have thrown that kind of money at it, you would hope that there was something legitimate about it that they got, that for them to get involved in it. You would just hope. I don't know. And I gotta go kill some animals so I can get some more meat. And the one thing I will say is, and I tried to find some videos to watch on this, so I give you a little more. I wanted to freshen up my recollection of it. And the problem is, all the stuff I quickly found on YouTube, I'm not really sure. But okay. Now, my understanding is initially, and I think I might be wrong on this, I'm going from memory. I think that this was first looked into, and I'm not seeing this on the Wikipedia page, so it's entirely possible I'm remembering it wrong. I think this was first looked at in the 50s or 60s. And much like with the UFO thing, you had the Christian cult wing of the military or the government. They didn't want it. They didn't want it. Well, then what they found out was the Soviets were working on it. And then it became a problem where they're like, well, what if there is something to this? And the Soviets get there first. Kind of like we didn't have any ambitions on the moon until the Soviets put someone in space. When the Soviets put the first cosmonaut in space, then we suddenly got religion on it, and we're like, oh, we gotta do something. And it was the same way with this. We kind of passed on it, and then when we discovered that the Soviets were working on it, then we got some interest in it, and they started working on it. And so my understanding is Project Stargate, and that is the official name of it, was actually started in, I think, around 1975, and it ran until 95. And again, there's some reports that it was useful, and then there were other reports that it wasn't that useful. And I'm not saying it's one you're going to watch again and again and again until you die, but I am saying that it's interesting. There is a movie called The Men Who Stare at Goats. Ewan McGregor, I believe, was in it, if I'm going from memory. I actually own a copy of that, so if it's not boxed up, that is something I could watch if I wanted to again. But Ewan McGregor was in it. George Clooney was in it. And if you are someone that watches Skinwalker Ranch, and don't quote me on this, but if my memory is correct, there is this retired Army colonel who worked on the ranch when Bigelow owned it. I think he was the one who headed up the investigation when Bigelow owned the ranch. My understanding is one of the characters, and I can't tell you off the top of my head which one it is, but one of the characters in The Men Who Stare at Goats was based on him. One of the characters that was in there was based off of him. Okay. I'm gonna go kill some animals. I really wish you could get meat from a llama. Put some gyros sandwiches in here. And but the whole revolt and Project Stargazer, and I honestly don't know. I have found out what little information I can quickly on it. What I don't know is if remote viewing was everything they did or if there was more, because in the movie The Men That Stare at Goats, they were trying to figure out how to levitate through walls and other stuff. They were trying to stare at goats and cause them to die, and this was all the shit that was going. That's why it's called The Men Who Stare at Goats, because that was one of their exercises where they would stare at goats and see if they could kill a goat with just their mind. And so there was a whole lot of paranormal shit that was going on, and somebody coined the term remote viewing because they didn't want to use clairvoyance. When you're remote viewing, what you do is you try to put yourself in a state where you can see things remotely. Like you'd be sitting, like, let's say I'm sitting here in my house, and if I was able to remote view, I should in theory be able to remote view stuff in Moscow or Egypt or so on and so forth. And so that's kind of what I'm talking. That's what I'm trying to talk about here is that. And the thing is, though, I think they were researching more than that. And even on the Wikipedia page, you can go check that out. Yeah, there's these two, Harold Pluthoff and Russell Targ, joined the Electronics and Bioengineering Laboratory at Stanford Research Institute, SRI now, SRI International, where they initiated studies of the paranormal that were at first supported with private funding from the Parapsychology Foundation and the Institute of Noetic Sciences. Then in the 70s, and they're saying they tested John Taylor and Eduardo Bolavinsky tested the psychic Matthew Manning in remote viewing, and the results were proved completely unsuccessful. Okay, what I got to do is I got to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna grab something to drink while I'm up. I will be back as quick as I can. Bear with me. And, so they created this thing from 75 to and then they're saying it crapped out kind of in the 94. It was kind of dying off. And again, regardless of what they're saying, I seem to think that it probably died off because of the religious nuts that are in the Pentagon. They need to get rid of them right away. And because what happened was they didn't let it die. They didn't stop it. They transferred it to the CIA. If it was such a disaster, if they found no value in it, why did they transfer it to the CIA? I don't know. I don't have any good answers for you. But just my common sense tells me there must have been something valuable about it, or they didn't just let it die. And I've also heard stories that they actually used remote viewing in the first Gulf War to hit targets. And they were fairly accurate. But again, I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard those rumors. And then to link this to the UAP thing, there are people who have basically claimed that there are people that have actually claimed that what happened was they were brought in by people. And they were brought in to remote view. And they, one of them, because that's one of the videos I found. It kind of reminded me of that. They claimed that they were brought in. It was some unnamed suit. They were basically brought there because they were remote viewers for the government. They were brought there, and they were basically told what to do. And they were told to remote view something on the moon. And their claim is, and I don't know, but their claim was that they contacted an alien mind. Maybe not. I really don't know. But okay, 231. And they freaked out. And the person that brought them there, again, these claims, and they could be nuts, I don't know. But with, again, some of the stuff that's come out, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm trying to keep an open mind on everything, no matter how fucking crazy it sounds. And, and that is something that Lou Elizondo, when he was being asked questions by that Kurt from that Theory of Everything, he asked him about, because Lou is someone that, it claims, well, yeah, I was working with this stuff. This is what I know, or this is what I can tell you about. And he was basically asked, he goes, well, you've got scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who have been some of the biggest skeptics. And they asked him on his opinion on that, and he said, well, he goes, I really don't know what to make. He goes, this is a guy that back in the day, there was something you couldn't see it. There was no proof of it. And he staked a claim on it. And he was shouted down by mainstream, the mainstream, and he stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it. And he basically kind of became famous when he proved that what he was theorizing was real. And he said, this is a guy that everybody told him he was nuts. Everybody told him it wasn't real. And he said, I just don't understand how he can be so negative on this. He goes, I don't get it. I ain't gonna do it now because I don't want to get blown up by a creeper, but I gotta come back and get that iron. I got 4 pieces. I found 2 pieces while I was digging this out, so I got enough to maybe get my snips. And I do this kind of shit. I need it up on 74 because I need this to be the top height. And because I had to drop down, I kind of forgot what I was doing. So I'm exactly 1, 2, well. But no, so the whole remote viewing thing, I don't understand. And then I've heard stories, again, these people could just be talking out of their ass or they could be telling the truth. But there was one guy that was basically given a task to remote view something, and I think it was a test. And he did. And the people that were testing him, and this might be why some of the remote viewing is seen as failures. He was basically tasked to, do it, and then when somebody went and checked it out, they didn't find anything. They were, they were given very specific instructions. Hey, what you're looking for is, this is where you're going to find it. Look for this, look for that, look for the other thing. And nothing came out. And then what happened was when they were in the area, next thing you know, they were like descended upon by people from the alphabet group. And they wanted to know why they were there. Well, it turns out they were just around the corner from some classified installation, and they had to identify themselves as who they worked for. Well, then they were allowed to reach out to the people, in charge of them, the people they worked for, and it was government. Well, then what they were allowed to do is they were allowed, at least a couple of them were allowed to go check this place out, and everything they were told to look for was there. They found the hallway, they found the room, they found the filing cabinet or whatever. And it's like, and then the guy's like, oh my God, this was just, but again, they were just slightly off. Well, again, if you need to go steal a watch, maybe it isn't perfect. But some of the stories I've heard, if you need to drop a bomb on something, they're going to get you in the neighborhood. They're going to, if you need to kill someone or if you need to blow something up, they're going to get you in the rough neighborhood for it. And then there was one video, and I'm not kidding you. I'm not claiming to be, psychic or anything like that, but I can completely sympathize with this. But there was one video, and when this is over, I might go watch it. There was one video where they were saying there's like 6,000 remote viewers. They're all seeing the end of the world. And I gotta be honest with you. I look on a daily basis at the news, and usually I'm in a pretty good mood about it, no matter how bad it is. And you see shit like, this guy's an idiot, but there was a guy, and he's either in jail or he's not doing it, but he's one of these sovereign citizen nut jobs. And what happened was, and I gotta be honest with you, I don't understand this. I literally don't understand it. But it was a parking lot, and when I was a kid, when I was growing up, all the parking lots were straight. And then somebody figured out that if you angle them, instead of being like straight, if you got the throughways here, and instead of being straight, and a lot of them still are straight, but if they're not straight, if you angle them a little bit, you can get in and out easier as the cars, as people got to be where they weren't that good of a driver, and so on and so forth. And and I've done this. I've literally done this myself, and I don't think it's an issue in my state, but what I'll do is I'll either pull into a spot and then pull through to the one in front of it, and then that way I can pull straight out. I don't have to try and back up, and I prefer to do that if I have a choice. Well, that's what he did, and he got a parking ticket. Now, if he knew it was illegal, like for me, if I was in a state, no matter how much of a product of incest they were, if I was in a state where they required that and I knew it, I wouldn't fuck with them. Oh shit! I thought it was something bad. There we go. Hopefully, nope. Where's the beef? Where's the beef? Okay, I'm going to go back and unload. I'm going to get an axe and I'm going to get a shovel. And I just wouldn't do it. But this guy got a ticket for it, and that's the thing. I really don't know how to come down on this, because if he knew it and did it anyways, just to prove a point, well, you kind of made an appointment for that. But if he honestly didn't know, I'm thinking, maybe, but again, he's usually a douchebag to cops anyways. So, he kind of, if you got a decent cop, and they are out there, maybe not all of them, maybe not even the majority of them. But there's decent cops out there, and if you got one and you treat them, this is the case with most people. If you treat them with respect, you'll sometimes get it back, or at least they won't be a complete asshole to you. You know that they won't. And I made the comment that day where he was bitching about getting his video where he was getting that ticket. I just made the comment. I go, this is why the aliens won't talk to us. But I look at the shit's going on now. They're, just, I don't want to turn into a whole political die. I kind of did that on the Diablo one, and I apologize for that. But, the shit that's going on now, I honestly hope there are no aliens out there, because if there's some kind of an advanced civilization and they see what's going on, where you've got fucking just criminals in one party and the other party is just fucking rolling over and letting them do it. If there is, because every now and then you'll hear somebody talk about these cycle of, boom and bust, and again, maybe it's just a coincidence, maybe it just happens. But because that one guy was talking about there was some kind of oral history that was being done, and they were saying that, like, what happened to Atlantis, that's nothing new. That is something that happens over and over again, every so often. They, like, whatever life is on here is just wiped out and they start over again. And on some level, if that's true, I just don't know if we're worth, if I seriously don't. I hope I'm wrong, but I just worry that if we are to be judged by somebody or something, that what they're going to find is that we're not worth it. We just, we're not worth any more effort, and maybe they're just going to start over again. I find it depressing. I think it's sad. But, I just... just the other day you had they were talking about it today, so it just happened. I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but Lauren Boebert was watching a play. She's supposed to be an elected official. She's supposed to be a leader of this country, and and she didn't go to a nice play. She went to Beetlejuice the musical. It wasn't, Fiddler on the Roof. It wasn't the Nutcracker. It wasn't even Grease. It was Beetlejuice the play, or the musical, or whatever it is. And they claim she was vaping, and that wasn't allowed. She was singing along. Other people paid. All those people spent probably 6 months or a year getting ready for this. And she's in there singing, vaping, and she was recording it. And it sounds like they asked her to stop, and she was fucking too stupid to do it. So they eventually threw her out. And it sounds like they had to go through a whole sovereign citizen ordeal where, they told her she needed to leave. Well, we're not leaving. Well, if you refuse to leave, you are trespassing now. We've asked you to leave, and that they were letting her know politely, you're going to be fucking arrested, you fucking hillbilly. And they eventually threw her out. and she claims that she was laughing. Well, they released the whole video footage. She was fucking going off on them as they were walking around, and they said that witnesses there said she was. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Yeah, you're Sarah Palin with less class. You know, I mean, it's like fucking A. Oh, I should have got him. I could have had him. Hey, Maverick. Could have had him. Could have had him, Maverick. Look here. I'll kill a goddamn squid when I'm goddamn good and ready. You got me. But fucking A. But that whole thing was just unbelievable. But yeah, the whole thing, you can look up for yourself, Project Stargazer, and I'm not kidding. That was something, and because I didn't know it, and he'd been on, I think he'd been on a couple times, and I'm not even sure if they mentioned it on the show. It might have been something where, they were talking about the show on like that Beyond the Ranch podcast or whatever. But ooh. Yeah. I'll probably go through 29 before I get done here. If not, I can make my snips when I get back. And I can start making pumpkin lanterns. But yeah, but that whole thing, you know, because I've heard, you know, now I've heard rumors that, you know, there were people that remote viewed Mars or remote viewed the moon. But, you know, the funny thing is for me, and maybe it's still true, but now that we've India or something like that has landed on the moon, and they're basically, it sounds like they landed on the dark side of the moon. They are checking out the back side, and they you know, they're doing that, and we'll find out. You know, if there's anything going on, we will definitely find out about it. And for the fucking fake moon landing, that was one of the cool things. When the Indian thing was landing, they actually saw some of the stuff left by our astronauts on the moon, and so that was kind of cool. I don't know. I might now. This is kind of this. You know, I don't know. I don't consider it political. Some people might, but I don't know exactly when I'm gonna do it, if I do it at all. But I'm seriously thinking about doing a podcast talking about the future of energy, because the green energy is, I think, a good thing, and it's not going to be necessarily what everybody thinks it's going to be. I'm gonna try to be honest about it. And there's a lot of things that I have picked up, and I think they're true. You know, I will share them. If they're wrong, they're wrong. But it's what people are talking about, and it might not be what you think it is, but it is something I think we should talk about. And I might do a podcast on it. I don't know how I'm doing okay, but I'm getting a little lightheaded trying to do it. And I really want to focus on getting some stuff done on this world. And I don't want to die because I'm getting lightheaded and I'm trying to focus on the topic or a discussion. But and I highly, I mean, it's worth watching at least once. But that Men Who Stare at Goats, that was definitely an interesting movie. And I don't know if there's anything else. I don't know if there's anything else where they've done where it kind of talks about that, where, you know, because it wasn't exactly a documentary, but it was inspired by actual events. So you can make of that what you will. Oh, that ain't bad. I almost nailed it. That's like almost an hour. Okay, I'm gonna let everybody go. I hope everybody's having a good day. The sun's kind of going and coming, and it looks like a nice day right now. But I've had it where the sun kind of went behind the clouds or whatever. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a good day.